from the University of Akron with a Bachelor of Science degree in 2017 and a Master's of Science degree in 2019, both in civil engineering. Josh is currently working at WSP USA in Cleveland, Ohio, as a structural engineer. Let's say hello to Joshua.
Hey, everyone.
We are also joined by Andrea Felicelli. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in 2019 in mechanical engineering from the University of Akron, of course. She is currently pursuing her PhD at Purdue University. Hi, Andrea, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Last but not least, we are joined by Kenneth Smith Jr. He earned his Bachelor of Science degree in 2019 in Aerospace Systems Engineering. He is currently working at NASA in Houston, Texas, as a structural dynamic engineer. Hi, Kenneth.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you all for taking time from your busy schedules to be our panelists this evening. We are really excited to learn about all of your experiences and all of your stories from the University of Akron and your co-ops and more. First, would each of our panelists take a minute or two to tell us about a typical day at work or the day in the life of a graduate student?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So really, there's no day that's really the same. That's what the best thing about being an engineer really is that, like Jade mentioned, I'm a civil engineer. So I actually went into the structural side of engineering. So I'm a bridge engineer with WSP in Cleveland. And what's so cool is that no day is the same. I was actually in Texas earlier this week inspecting a bridge in El Paso. And now I'm back in Cleveland and I was working on a report for the bridge inspection that we were doing. So some days I'll be in the office doing a report. Other days I'll be in the field inspecting bridges, hammering bridges, which is really fun. If you have any questions on what it looks like to inspect, definitely ask me. And other days I'll be designing actually. So we've designed some bridges in Cleveland and in other parts of the country as well. So no day is the same, which keeps you on your toes and just really interesting. So that's a day in my life. So.
Yes, so like Josh, my days also look pretty different from day to day. I work in a research lab at Purdue, and since I'm in the second year of my PhD, I am also usually taking 2 to 3 courses per semester relevant to my research. So outside my coursework, my focus is primarily on research, which is experimental. So that can be anything from working in a wet lab, doing optical measurements, mechanical measurements, manufacturing, data processing, reading literature. It can look very different depending on the day.
That's very cool, Andrea. Well, as Jade said, I'm an aerospace engineer, and actually I graduated in 2015. So I'm kind of an old guy. So, you know, like these young guns over here, they're like, oh, school. I chose a little bit different path. So I am actually more analytics. So I do loads and dynamics for the new Gateway space station. It's going to be going around the moon. So basically what I get to do is every day I put on my oversized hoodie, I put on my sweatpants, and I get to go wherever I want because I get to telecommute. I guess thanks to the pandemic, I get to telecommute, but so really I get to travel. I just sit down for work, telecommute, do analysis is a lot of what I do. So whenever you see like something docking or something taken away, like a satellite or anything like that, or something to the International Space Station, I'm the guy who analyzes those loads to basically make sure that nothing breaks, because you don't want to get in there and basically one of your solar arrays breaks. You know, I've been working on Project Gateway for a little bit, but actually before that, I actually worked at SpaceX, and I don't know if you guys recognize this guy, but he was from DM2. And actually today, I just got an award for my stuff that I did with DM2. So yeah, if you guys are interested in NASA, SpaceX, and stuff like that, and being lazy like me and traveling around while doing work, you know, maybe this is for you.
First, I want to say congratulations, Kenneth. That's incredible. But also, each of you has incredibly inspiring and exciting careers. I mean, from the dynamic that Joshua experiences of being in different states and experiencing different design, and also being able to be outside and actually on the build site. That's incredibly interesting. And the research, being able to research many different topics is something that engineers get to do. And so that's just a key factor to keep in mind, is that not every day is the same. And that's something really special in an engineering career. But now let's go back to several years ago when each of you were graduating high school seniors. Why did you choose the University of Akron?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Jade. So that's like one of the hardest decisions that you somewhat make in your life, because you're, 17, 18 years old, and you have this daunting question of what am I about to do for the rest of my life, and where am I about to go to start that career? One of the things, so I'm from Columbus, Ohio. So I was actually born in Cincinnati, moved around a little bit, and then ended up in Columbus through seventh grade on until graduating high school. And when I was figuring out what school I wanted to go to, I really wanted to have like a fit of a family community when it came to the school that I chose. Some schools were a little bit too large for me. Personally, I didn't want to become lost into a number. I wanted to have a big campus, but also a small campus so that I could know people and see familiar faces, but also meet new people every day as well. And when I visited Akron, that was just like the big thing. It was, it had that community, it had that family feel. And it really had a lot of people within the ideas program, which is increasing diversity in engineering academics. They really just made me feel at home. I felt like I had a mom on campus with Dr. Julie Zhao, and it just was a big fit. And so that was one of the big reasons. Obviously, the co-op program being the second oldest in Ohio, so it has like a rich history within our co-op program, and the engineering program on top of that was just like parts to none. So to me, I was just like, there's no brainer in that. The funny thing is, in high school, I went by my middle name initials, which are Elijah James. So EJ was my middle name initials. My last name is Thomas, as you might see. So there is a building actually at Akron called E.J. Thomas Hall. And so when I saw that, I felt like it was destiny at that point. I was like, they have a building named after me already. Let me go ahead and choose the University of Akron. So that's a little bit long story short of why I chose Akron personally.
So for me, I knew I wanted to go into engineering, but at first I was kind of unsure which discipline I wanted to go into. And I did eventually choose mechanical because I liked the kind of generality up, and I got a little bit of everything. But what I liked about Akron is that they had so many different disciplines that you could choose in so many different specialties, even with just the opportunity to get math minors or polymer science minors, as well as, of course, the co-op program and the design teams really provide great hands-on experience, which were really important to me because I'm really someone who learns from hands-on work rather than more in the classroom setting. Also, my family lives in Northeast Ohio, so it was really important to me to try to be close to them because they're a big support system for me. So it was great that Akron was close to home. And of course, I had the family on campus as well through the variety of student organizations and communities, and that was a large part of why I chose Akron as well.
That's a great answer, both of you. But for me, I'm gonna be honest, is I didn't choose Akron. When I graduated from Crestwood, so any Seawood graduates out there, I actually went to Ohio State, and I think it's partially because it was a big school, right? It's a party school. I want to go have some fun. And you know what? I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started off at Ohio State. I just thought it was the thing to do, right? Go to these cool colleges. And then my father lost his job. I ended up dropping out of school for 2 years. I then went to Kent because it was just the closest school to me. And then I found engineering, and then I'm like, well, I'm gonna do engineering. What's one of the best places around? And honestly, if you're in the area, one of the best places around, especially for the price, is Akron. What's funny is I came from like this, like I had no job, or I had a job, but I had no money. I was trying to support my family. And when you come there, it was a very supportive group. And as they were saying, there were professors there that were helping me. Not just, they're all like, oh yeah, there's a great working environment, but I was broke. There were people there trying to help me get fellowships, trying to help me get scholarships. And that was just because I just told them my situation and they really cared. When I was at Ohio State, literally, I saw the professor maybe a couple times, but there, I went to the professor as much as I wanted. You have these people saying, oh, well, it was great because like the professors were always available. It's like, I've actually had experience with both. And I think I might've preferred like the little bit smaller one, right? I think that's why a lot of people like grad schools, because you get that kind of close knit with your professor. And what's really great about this is as an undergrad, you can get this close knit kind of professionalism, I guess, with your professor. You can do undergraduate research. The co-op program, I think that was one of the biggest things for me, is because the co-op program was just like, hey, you basically have to do a co-op. And it's not because they want to make your life miserable, but because they want you to take what you learned in your classes. A lot of like the classes, like it maybe like Ohio State, at Kent, use similar books. It's like, but they're like, hey, how do you actually apply this stuff? How's it happen in real world like situations? And like they have hookups at NASA, at the Cleveland Clinic. There's a lot of hookups at Akron, and even though it wasn't my first choice, it was the right choice. It just took me a little bit longer to get there. And actually, I'm not the only transfer here. So Jade, why did you transfer to Akron?
All right, Kenneth, you called me out. I did transfer to the University of Akron as well, and I did so after my first year of college. And I was incredibly impressed by the number of resources on campus that weren't available at my previous university. And I experienced something very similar to Kenneth, where I was just a face in a crowd of people. I mean, there were times where I had lecture halls full of 300 plus students. And so I really didn't have that face time with my professors and that close-knit family sort of feeling. So at the university, Joshua, Andrea, and Kenneth all mentioned the co-op program. And that is one of the main reasons I went to the University of Akron, because you can actually go out in the real world and explore your passions and get paid for it too. You not only are able to understand what's in the textbook, but you get to explore opportunities outside of the classroom. And so Andrea mentioned the organizations and design teams, and all of them had mentioned the co-op office. It is very, very important that you take advantage of those resources. But back to the professor idea, they are so available for you to ask them questions in office hours. And I hadn't experienced that anywhere else. And I've experienced it with every single professor that I've had, that they truly want to help you. They will answer your questions. They want you to participate. And the students as well, your peers, want to build you up. You're all trying to go for this common goal to reach that degree. And it is one of the universities that does not have a competitive atmosphere. And that is really, really special. And that I did not experience at my previous university. So now back to the panelists. Looking back, do you feel the engineering curriculum at UA prepared you for your careers? What would be the program's strengths?
Yeah, just another great question, Jade. With that, one thing that I actually learned, and it was a quote that somebody told me once, is that school doesn't always necessarily teach you how to do your job, but it does teach you how to learn. And while I'll say the University of Akron did a little bit of both as well. So one thing that it did, obviously, is it taught me how to do my trade. So I took like the core curriculum classes that I do use on a regular basis. Mind you, there are some classes like calculus. I am very happy I do not have to do calculus every day in my career, to be honest. I can probably attest to the rest of the panelists that would agree with me on that. But one thing that the University of Akron definitely did was allow me to have the practicality of doing my job. So we have classes, we have design courses that actually teach me on a practical level how to actually do things. And then on the vice versa, where when I just mentioned about teaching you how to learn, you have professors that were really diligent with trying to like put into like real world practice and teaching you like, okay, now that you have this core knowledge of this, how do you now apply it to a real world practice? So those are some of the things that like really helped me in my career now, because yeah, you'll definitely recognize that like when you're an engineer, it doesn't necessarily look like you just behind a computer screen, just like always just like typing away and doing calculations. Sometimes it might be, but a lot of times it is just like, hey, how do I talk to a client in order to win work for, if you're a consultant, how do I actually win work and everything of that nature. So the University of Akron gave you opportunities both inside and outside of the classroom to better you in that, so that when you do graduate, you're not kind of just like left in the deep end, just trying to figure it out at that point. It gave you a lot of footsteps or steps to get you to the ultimate goal and ultimate dream that you want to be. So those are some of the curriculums that I would say that helped a lot, and how the university helped in the classroom and outside the classroom as well. So yeah.
That was a great answer, Josh. So for me, this has been reiterated so many times, but Akron really does have great professors who genuinely care about their students. I'm definitely not one of those people who classes are really easy for and I don't have to try. I really do have to try, even if I'm very passionate about the class. And it was always so great to have professors there for office hours and to answer questions. And they really are so willing to help you in your class if you're willing to put the effort in. And honestly, now I've been in grad school for almost 3 years and I still keep in contact with some of them. They will still email me and be like, hey, how's it going? How's grad school going? And I think that really shows they really do care about your career and your success. Apart from that, the hands-on opportunities really are great. The lab sections are always my favorite. I really love labs and I found them a really great way to visualize theory, but there's also design elements that are implemented into courses and other opportunities to get hands-on via projects and things like that. So that's a really great thing about the curriculum that I really liked. And also I like that in the last few years of your degree, you can kind of, you're kind of more aware of what you're interested in within your field. Like for me, I realized that was kind of the material science side of things and polymer science. And you have the opportunity to take courses that are more aligned specifically with your interests. In my case, I took energy courses and some polymer courses. You even have the opportunity to take graduate courses if that's something that's interesting to you. So it's nice that you can really pursue your own interests in that way near the end of your degree.
I don't know what I can add to that. I mean, unless you guys want to hear the exact same thing. There's a lot of hands-on experience. It is very good. But I feel like if I say that stuff, it's just going to get boring to you guys. But something, like they already said, great hands-on experience. A lot of design teams. There's some that they may not have mentioned, but there's a lot of room to grow. I actually was a person who founded the Astronauts rocket design team, started in 2014, 2015. It was it was nice because now that I was in this like small school, there were people there like helping me out, and it was almost like I was talking to some of the professors, being like, "Hey, I learned this stuff. This is what I did for some of the amateur rocketry stuff. We should throw this into our class." And it's kind of funny. The classes and the curriculum, there's a solid foundation there. Of course, what you have to meet, but they were never afraid to alter it a little bit from what my interests were, from what the class interests were, to better prepare for what you had to do. I thought that was kind of interesting and probably a little bit different than I felt at bigger school. And something else I'd like to say is I came in knowing zero engineering. If you guys are coming in being like, yeah, but all these people coming in, they already know how to program. I knew zero. I had hair down to here. I was going to be a rock star. And what I really like about Akron is they have this thing like, as Joshua said, the ideas. It stands for like increasing diversity in engineering academics. And what's really cool about that is through each phase, maybe like the beginning, like if you need help with math, they have tutoring for math. And look at me, like I had tutoring and then I became a tutor. But say you're in a little bit more elevated class, maybe like an electrical engineering class, like engineering specific, they have tutors for that as well. So at each phase, you have people helping you, like propping you up because they want to see you succeed. And that was that was really nice. You know, I went to, like I said, 2 other schools before that, and they maybe had like the core classes, like, you know, maybe calculus, but there was engineering specific. I was tutoring in advanced level dynamics, and like we did some statics and stuff like that. So if you're like, you know, I'm not sure about engineering, you know, I think it might be, I get in and there's all these smart kids, and it's just like, yeah, you know, of course you're gonna have smart kids, but the thing that I think was different about Akron is, you know, if people maybe didn't have that foundation research or that foundation stuff that maybe some other kids at a fancier school had, Akron is there. Akron was there to help you up. You know, I'm not saying that it's not for smart kids as well. I mean, that sounds weird, but I'm saying that it is very broad, and it can capture every one of you. And I think that's what's great. And like everyone said, like if you have any questions about any of this stuff, it's great. And if you have any questions about ideas, Dr. Julie Zhao, she's the best. She'll help you. She will make sure that you learn everything you need to know.
Those are some incredibly great points, especially the idea that we don't go in knowing how to be engineers, and that's the purpose of college. I remember being incredibly overwhelmed thinking about being an engineer and not being able to come up with ideas, or having to come up with these wild ideas on my own. But the whole purpose of engineering is to work as a team and have diverse perspectives. So ideas is a great way to find that out. And also tutoring, you're never alone in college, and that's something really special. Kenneth, you mentioned that you were a tutor at some point during your college career. I am too. I actually now have the amazing opportunity to be the head tutor for the college's tutoring program. And by that, I mean the College of Engineering and Polymer Science. We have our own program specialized to engineering courses. And I agree with you. Asking for peer support is important. Connecting with your peers and connecting with tutors is a fantastic way to gain confidence in your classes. Asking questions about difficult content is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of curiosity and having a growth mindset. Tutoring is a way to make connections with upperclassmen, gain role models, get tips on who to choose for which classes, just anything that relates to career aspirations. Having those role models in your peers is going to help you immensely. Now, speaking of being curious and developing those career aspirations, we would all like to know how you prepared yourself for your current career while in college. So what kind of opportunities were there for your career development?
So many. There's just so many opportunities when you go to the University of Akron. Like Kenneth mentioned earlier, how he literally just started a whole program on his own with the rocket team. And he didn't brag about it, but that rocket team has like gone to nationals and like has ranked in the nation with things. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kenneth, you guys have actually won 1 or 2 and have some world records too, right? So things like, yeah.
Came in second, but we won, like, I think the best paper award. So it's when you go through like your analyses and basically show how you came to your conclusion and how you designed it.
Okay, so yeah, things like that are just like so incredible. Just like you can actually do things like that at the University of Akron. For myself, how I prepared myself is I knew I wanted to just be involved. And that's like we've already kind of mentioned with the student organizations. There's just so many opportunities within that. I chose to join a few myself. So I did the National Society of Black Engineers, which is NSBE for short. And I became the president of that eventually. And that was just an amazing experience. I never, like when I first stepped on the Akron's campus, I did not think that I was going to be involved in leadership as much. I like wanted to be involved, but I didn't know it was going to turn into leadership. But that's just like the beauty of it. You have people that get behind you and just see something in you that you might not even see in yourself. And then they push you. So I mentioned Dr. Julie Zhao earlier. I consider her my mom on campus, and she basically pushed me to say like, hey, I think you should like go into this role. And so I was like, okay, let's go for it. And we did some incredible things within that organization while I was on campus. And that was the beauty of it as well, that I had a lot of help as I was president with faculty members, with administrators that like really helped the dream that I had for the organization come to fruition. So we now actually did a NSBE STEM Day. So 8th graders came every year to the University of Akron to learn about STEM. And it was my way of just inspiring to the next generation. And so things like that are just like opportunities that you actually have available to you because of the support system behind you, because of the people that push you into leadership roles. And through that, I was really fortunate enough to have a distinct honor to be on the board of trustees at the University of Akron for 2017 through 2019. And as I was a board of trustee member, basically the board of trustees is a governing body that basically makes the big decisions on campus. So the direction of how the university is going to go, hiring the president of the university, things of that nature is like the board of trustees. And I had the distinct honor to be on the board during my last 2 years of grad school. And it was an incredible honor. And those are certain leadership qualities that I think helped propel me now to the career that I am in today, because you never realize how a door will open for you. And I truly think that the leadership path actually was what helped propel the door open for me. So that's just a few things. I could go on, but I'm just definitely going to let the other panelists share their stories too. But yeah, that's a little bit about my story and how I propelled my future.
Yeah, that was a really great, thorough answer. I had a lot of similar experiences. I really enjoyed my time in organizations. I was in the College of Engineering's Dean's team. I was in the Society of Hispanic Engineers, which is a great way to keep in touch with my culture at the university and be able to speak Spanish so I didn't forget it. I was also for a few years involved in the SIPS Aero Design team, which was a great way to get hands-on experience. I also got a few opportunities to be in mentorship roles through the Ideas program and also the Peer Mentor program, which is a program to help freshman students just kind of find their way through mentorship from an older student who can help them with classes and things like that. So that was a really great opportunity that really encouraged me to grow my leadership skills and my mentorship skills. And yeah, definitely had a lot of great memories at Akron. Many nights spent in the engineering library study rooms with my classmates, writing on the whiteboard, trying to figure out tests and homework and projects. It sounds like a lot, but I made so many very close friends through my courses I'm still close with now.
I hate going last. I feel like everyone says everything, but first off, let me just say, someone has a name called Still Deciding. I dedicate this answer to you, that I hope you decide on the University of Akron after I tell you this. But when I came in, I knew I wanted to do engineering, but something that you don't know is like, okay, I'll do aerospace, I'll do mechanical. There's so much subcategories of mechanical of aerospace that it's really hard to do. It's really hard to comprehend. So I was lucky enough, I actually got involved in 3 different research teams. One looked at polymer reinforced bearing cages. Another one, I looked at smart fluids and see how they could be used in tires. Can I change the rolling resistance so you can have a tire that's used for the winter and the summer and you save on gas? It's always good. And I was even in a biofluids lab. One, I looked at blood. Another one, I looked at something called Chiari. Chiari is basically a malformation of the brain. And I was in aerospace, and I got to look at these 3 different things as an undergraduate researcher and was paid. So basically, they paid me to figure out what I wanted to do. I think that was something that was really nice, because you think about like some of these researchers like, oh yeah, volunteering, some of it is volunteer work, but when these professors see that your interest, they're like, oh, wow, okay, well, let me show you what it's about. They can't pay a lot, but you pay a little bit. This is why I was taking classes. This wasn't my co-op. So it was just something on the side to try to help me figure out what exactly I wanted to do to make my co-ops more focused, right? So if I had some undergraduate research, I could be more focused into where I want to do my co-ops. I think that kind of helped me, because then I had 3 internships at NASA Langley. I had 1 at NASA Kennedy, and it eventually led me to get pathways. And pathways for NASA basically just means like you're a civil servant, but you're like a civil servant on contract. And when you graduate, that contract ends. They can either extend you as a full-time, or they can say, yeah, we don't want you, or they just don't have a position available. So there's And what's really nice about Akron also is if you want to work at NASA or something like that, like NASA Glenn's right there, so it's pretty close. You know, and I think another great thing was the scholarships I received, right? One was called the Ohio Space Grant Consortium, and it allowed me to basically get some funding for the research I wanted to do. And it was a great experience. And I know you guys are out there probably like, man, they're saying the same things, but I mean, the list is just like long, and we all have a little bit different experiences, but you know, it's like, boom, check, it's a great school. Boom, check, you know, you get all these opportunities. Boom, check, these professors care about you. Boom, check, you know, there's scholarships available. Boom, check, there's great places to go. And I totally went way off the rail on that. I'm surprised that Jade wasn't like, yo, Kenneth, you got to stop. You're going too long. But I just want you guys to know, right? You know, we're here for you guys. We want to answer your questions. So, yeah,
It's
still
incredible,
deciding.
Kenneth.
Excited after that.
It's incredible. We love to hear it. I think we would also love to hear a little bit more about each of your co-ops. I know that Kenneth touched on his a little bit, but I think that it would be great if we could all hear just a little bit more about your co-ops, maybe your favorite project, just so we can get an idea of what it's like to be working as an engineer while you're still in college.
Andrea, you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, sure, I can. So co-ops and internships are definitely one of the best things that I got from the program personally. And for me, it was obviously the hands-on experience. The pay was definitely a perk, but also just the fact that I got to explore so many different sort of subsets of the field. Because really, even though a co-op in mechanical engineering might sound like they would all be kind of the same sort of work, there are a lot of different types, even though they're in the same field. There can be design, there can be manufacturing, there can be research and development. It really varies so much. So if you have one opportunity and it's like not really something that you want to see yourself doing forever, you still have the opportunity to grow from there and to see other types of work in your field. So that's a really great aspect of the co-op program. And actually my last co-op was a startup company that worked directly with researchers at the University of Akron in polymer science. And this co-op is what helped me realize like my passion for research and for material science that led to me applying to grad school and applying to the specific lab that I work in now and really love working in. So the co-op program was really important for me in that aspect. Apart from that, I also had the opportunity to get involved for 3 years in undergraduate research with a mechanical engineering professor. And I was able to present my work that I did with him at 2 conferences with NASA and with Ohio Space Grant Consortium. And this was a really great experience to meet people and network. And also it really helped prepare me for graduate school and cement my interest in research.
Yeah, so my co-op experience, I ended up doing 4 co-ops all through my time in school. I did one in between grad school, so that's why I have the 4. Usually people have about 3 to 4-ish or so. I know there's an option to not do a co-op. I do not suggest that personally. I suggest that everyone that goes to college for engineering and outside of engineering as well, but I know we're talking about engineering today, anyone that goes into that field should guaranteed do a co-op. The reason I say that is because co-op teaches you a lot of different things. Number one, it teaches you the application on how to actually do your job, and kind of like what I was saying earlier, so that when you then graduate and you're in your field, it's not like it's your first time being in the workforce and how to actually do things. You're not coming like at a tadpole out of college, just like, I don't know what I'm doing. You have now experience in the workforce through the time that you've been in college. Another reason I say that is because it teaches you what you want to do. Andrea kind of touched on this just now. And one thing that it really does is it teaches you what you like and what you don't like. And that's okay. You get paid, kind of like what Kenneth said, you get paid to figure out what you like. And that's amazing. So I ended up doing four different companies. I know some people end up doing all 4, all like with the same company. I ended up doing construction management at first, was my very first in Columbus. I did another one in Akron, Ohio, which was transportation design. I did a third one in Cleveland, Ohio, which was hydrology work. So there's a lot of different sectors within civil engineering, and hydrology is one of them. And then my last one was in Pittsburgh, actually, and that was doing bridges. And I kind of like figured out all through that I actually really love bridges. It sounds like a nerd me saying that, but I really geek out whenever I see a bridge on the highway. Don't be weird when I say that, but yeah, it's true. So that's one thing that I definitely learned through co-op experiences, and that's why once again I just instill the importance of it and the need of it, and you really do find your passion in it. So that's how it helped me for sure.
Well, I guess while everyone said the benefits of co-ops, and I already talked about a couple of mine, I'll just, like Jade asked him, what's your favorite? My favorite was when I was at NASA Langley, and I got to go in different types of aircraft and basically test out the dynamics. So basically there was a bunch of aircraft that NASA Langley had, and they put different scientific experiments on there, and they go up in the air, and it could be maybe like a LiDAR system. It could be doing air sampling. It could be doing like reentry following. So what I got to do is I got to basically all the different ports to where some of the scientific instruments would be. I basically got to put something called an accelerometer. So basically all it does is it measures acceleration, right? Basically I got to take those, put it in a whole document. I actually have a printed paper from this that basically documents what type of environments someone's scientific instruments will feel on these different aircraft. So maybe one was like a jet aircraft. There's another one that was a prop plane. And something that's kind of different about prop planes is you don't think about it. So if you think about vibrations, is a prop plane constantly has this vibration, this cyclic vibration of the propellers. So there's different types of actually analysis techniques that go into that. So yeah, while everyone else was doing their boring co-op, I was going up in different aircraft with NASA, like with NASA pilots, and be like, yeah, let's go over here. Let's do these different maneuvers. And yeah, got a cool NASA technical document out of it. So that was probably my favorite.
Thanks for sharing that, Kenneth. I don't think that there's any boring co-ops. I just have to say, Andrea did make a point to say that it could be different every time as well. So you have the opportunity to seek out what kind of co-op you would like. So we actually have a question in the chat that I'd like to answer now because it's pertinent. It says, do you get to choose where you want to co-op, and how does this process work? So I can start off by saying that you do get to choose where you would like to co-op. What's really great is that the co-op office helps in the process. So there are 2 career fairs, one in the spring and one in the fall. And you have the opportunity to see this whole list with over 200 companies and what degrees they're looking for, and if they are looking for co-ops or full-time. And you can go up and talk to as many people at that career fair as you can possibly talk to. And you get to interview them as much as they're interviewing you, which is great. And so not only are the co-ops that are through the co-op office that they offer you available for you to choose on your own and to set up those interviews and show them who you are, but you also can reach out to companies in the area or even across the country if that's what you're interested in. So the process is really up to you. It's all up to you to figure out what's going to work for you, and you can change it up from semester to semester if that's what you would like, and to learn new passions. Do any of the panelists want to comment on how they chose their co-ops? Yep, Kenneth.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a raise hand function, but I wish I could. But I went to 0 of the engineering career fairs. And the reason is I knew I wanted to work at NASA. I literally went in there and I was like, I want to work at NASA. And you know what? They made it happen. They put me in contact with people. I had the right interviews. I told them exactly what I wanted. Not everybody has that kind of like, okay, I want to work here and that's it. But if you do, they help make it happen. The co-op program, the reason we keep talking about it is it's just so vast now. Like they have, because Akron emphasizes it so much, I think above a lot of other schools, they have these connections to these different places. Like, right, of course they have NASA Glenn, but I interned at NASA Langley, at NASA Kennedy. I was out at SpaceX. You don't think about it like that, but once you put that emphasis into co-op programs, the companies realize that, and they're like, okay, well, these people want to make students that have these hands-on experience and that are ready for some hands-on experience. So yeah, like maybe a little bit different kind of sway, like the other side of the coin. Maybe like instead of not knowing me, I knew what I wanted to do. But yeah, that's what's cool about it. If you have something that you want, they'll make it happen. If not, you test the waters.
I have another really great question in here related to co-ops, if any of the panelists would like to answer this. So it says, I was wondering if any of you speakers would recommend trying co-ops, even if you've already found a co-op that you greatly enjoy.
Just for clarification, so JD, are you saying the question's asking if there's now a new co-op and you already had one that you enjoyed and now you're trying a new one?
I think so. I think it's more asking if you found a co-op that you enjoy, if you found a job that you like, is it a good idea to look what else is out there and to get experience in other areas, even if you found something that you like?
So I'll answer that a couple different ways. So briefly, of course. So first one I would actually say is if you don't find something that was like your absolute dream at first, don't be worried by that. Because for me, I knew I didn't necessarily want to do construction management. That was my very first co-op that I was, fortunate enough to get. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, but I knew I wanted to do something in design and in structures, and I wasn't necessarily doing that. But I definitely still learned a lot, and there was a lot of value in that. And it then helped me just build my resume. So I'll answer it in that way first. And then on the other side, on the reverse, if you have a co-op that you've enjoyed and there's another opportunity to do something else, my only question to you again would just be what is your true passion? Is your true passion the field that you're actually in that co-op, or is it you're still not fully sure and you do want to maybe look elsewhere? I would then suggest if you are still curious and not fully sure, then go ahead and look elsewhere. Other than that, I would personally say staying with the company is really beneficial because co-op is a long-term interview. So a lot of people end up getting hired full-time outside of their co-op and outside of their internship. So being able to do that for a couple rotations builds a lot of rapport with the company, with your boss, with other coworkers of yours. So it's just an easy fit in once you graduate. So that would be my only two few ways to kind of answer that and go about that.
Thank you, Joshua. And I agree with that. The other thing you can think about is if you do get an offer to stay at the same company, it's likely that they can show you multiple different departments. So you can see quality, you can see manufacturing, you can see product development, all within the same company. And that's the experience I had while at Robin Industries. So it's something that you can stay at the same company, but still feel like you're experiencing different portions of what your degree could be used for. And so just remember that rather than maybe jumping around, it just depends on your specific situation. So it could be different for everybody. We have another question in here that I find quite interesting. And it actually references to NASA, Kenneth, if you would like to speak on this at all, but also I think Andrea might have some ideas about this. It says, how do the panelists feel about gender equality or gender bias in engineering? And how is gender equality at a place like NASA?
I can start off with that. NASA actually does a lot of stuff for basically togetherness, I guess you would call it, basically equality throughout. They actually have now stuff. I actually have a pin of an astronaut, and it has the LGBTQ flag. I actually volunteered there when I was at Langley. I think maybe you don't see it from the outside, but we literally had a 5K run at NASA Langley for these things. So maybe there's some stuff on the outside that maybe aren't equal, but I think that NASA is one of those places that is really hey, if you're smart and you want to come here, we don't care what you are. We don't care if you're a man. We don't care if you're a woman. We don't care if you're gay. We don't care if you're trans. And that's something I really like. And if you're talking about inequality in pay, there isn't. It's government. So there's something called a GS scale, and it's not based on whether you're a man. It's not based on anything. You start off at a GS 11, and then you get the same pay as everybody there on that GS 11 scale, and then you move up. So there could be some things different in maybe a private firm, but NASA's government. So if you're government, your pay is set. whether you're a man, woman, gay, lesbian, it doesn't matter. So if you're looking at NASA and you're afraid that you're going to be put down because of, you're not going to get a raise because you're a woman, or you're going to get put down because you're gay, not going to happen. Not going to happen. There's like things in place to make sure it doesn't happen. And also, like I said, it's a welcoming community that people more and more are just kind of joining forces together against hatred. It's really nice.
That's incredible.
Oh.
Thank you for sharing.
So I can talk about this a little bit too. I haven't worked at NASA, so I don't have experience with them specifically, but Kenneth certainly covered that pretty well. In my experience, of course, there is, a larger proportion of men to women in the majority of engineering fields. That being said, I do think that's changing quickly. There's a lot of programs that are dedicated to increasing diversity, both at the university level, in industry, and also in the higher education level, like graduate school and beyond as well. In Akron, there's programs like the Women Engineering Program, which are fantastic, and they're great ways to get connected with other women in engineering. And I don't know, whenever I was in Akron, I had a lot of really close girlfriends that, we went through a lot of the same courses together, and there was really that solidarity there. I think, and also outside of that, I haven't really experienced much that made me feel negative about being a woman in engineering or Hispanic in engineering. So I think, that's something that's evolving, and I think it's not something that will hold you back.
Thank you, Andrea. So we have a question here about if you lived on campus or if you commuted, and what are the pros and cons of staying on campus versus commuting in your experience?
So I personally did both. Typically, people, of course, stay on campus their first year, maybe their second year even. I think the pro in that is just gaining a lot of friends, especially in a dorm. You gain a lot of different friends. It can sometimes, to be like completely honest, it can be distracting. There are some people that might not be in the same field or same degree that you're in, so they don't necessarily maybe need to study as much as we do. So that kind of gets a little distracting in that, but it gives you the amazing opportunity to just meet a lot of new people. And that's kind of like what I was saying as far as, sorry if you're a train in the background, by the way, I live near train tracks, unfortunately. But that's the beauty of Akron is like I said, you can meet new people every day, but also just like see familiar faces. And as far as commuting, it saves money. That's one thing with it, I would definitely say. And I think there's actually like a pretty cool like commuting community within Akron where there's a lot of people that maybe like carpool together. There's just a lot of different off-campus opportunities and living as well. So those are some of the pros and cons I can kind of think of. There's probably more that I'm missing that you guys can also like maybe attest to personally.
The only thing that I can say is when I commuted, sometimes I forgot my homework because, I could be stupid sometimes. And it was not fun to have to travel back, just to travel back. But to be honest, when you're in engineering, if you're a commuter, you're going to spend, I spent weekends sleeping on the civil engineering couch because I stayed there for projects. That's just what you do in engineering. You're staying there a long time. So actually being on campus might be a nice perk if you're like that. But yeah, I mean, there's always pluses and minuses to both. Definitely, I think I probably preferred, since you're probably asking which one do we prefer, I say I'd probably prefer to commute because I like to, I don't know, it's kind of like a way to separate things, right? Like he said, you are out with your friends and stuff like that, and sometimes you get distracted. Sometimes it's hard to separate those things. It's psychologically shown that it's nice to have like the separation of things. That's why we have like a workstation. You sit here and work, here's where I go here and have fun. So I kind of like that just for my mentality, that I just preferred it. I mean, it could be different with you, but I'm assuming that's why the question was asked. So I'm just saying I preferred to commute just because I could separate things in my mind.
I agree with that too. I am a commuter student, but I think it would have been fun to be able to live on campus and meet or have a different sort of friend group where it's more close knit. I do already have a friend group that I love hanging out with, and yes, we've had many all-nighters on campus working through projects, but it makes it fun nonetheless. And I think either way, you're going to end up having an incredible experience at the University of Akron, regardless if you commute or you stay on campus, because you will have the opportunity to participate in all of the events, regardless if you are on campus or not. There's a lot of fun activities that you can do with the ZPN, I believe it is. They hold a lot of events, and so you can still have a lot of fun even if you commute. We have a fun question actually in the chat, and we would like to know what's next on your bucket list. I suppose that could be for your career or in life in general.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do outside of career real quick. And I love traveling. After I graduated from Akron, I decided to do a backpacking trip across Asia. Went to China, Japan, and Thailand. Incredible. Highly suggest doing any type of trip after you graduate, just to reward yourself. But next on my bucket list is to go to Peru, because I would love to backpack to Machu Picchu and just see the Aztec ruins there. So that would probably be the next thing on my bucket list.
Andrea?
So my bucket list is a little more boring than that. I've been working on a publication for a few months, so my bucket list is to get it published into the journal. So that's where I'm at right now. But hiking Machu Picchu sounds more fun, to be honest.
My bucket list is probably to get my private pilots. I already took ground school, and all I gotta do is get my flight hours. My goal is to be an astronaut, so I've done a couple things. I actually lived in Russia for a year on something called the Alpha Fellowship. I learned a little bit of Russian, so if anyone speaks Russian in here, you know, я говорю по-русски, здравствуйте. You know, so I'm trying to get all these extra check marks that astronauts have. So I'm scuba certified. I have my master's. I actually did apply for a PhD, so maybe that's another kind of future bucket list thing. You know, I know some Russian because astronauts have to know Russian. So, you know, the last like little check mark on that thing is that private pilot. So that's probably my next bucket list thing. So if anyone wants some flights, you know, I need to get those flight hours. So one of you people who undecided, maybe that will be the thing, deciding factor. I'd be like, yo, let's go for a flight. We'll take a cruise over Akron. I don't know if that's legal, you know, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
What's really great at the University of Akron is the work, life, and leisure balance. So all of these bucket list items that you might have could be completed while in college, because the University of Akron respects your time, and not only are you able to focus on studying, you maybe even be able to have a part-time job, but you also can have that social life. You can have these fun activities. So start building your bucket list, because it's likely that the University of Akron will give you those opportunities to take them. There was a question about studying abroad. Yes, that is an option. So you can reach out to the university and find ways to travel abroad in your area. So that's just one of those things. Add it to your bucket list, and the university will be there to support you, and you'll have time to do so. So let us move on to the last question of the evening, and that is, what would be your advice and suggestions for our students to succeed in engineering studies and engineering careers? Any last thoughts?
I can start with this one. So my advice would be really use your resources, whether that's tutoring, office hours, study groups with your classmates. Don't ever feel like if you're struggling, you have to go through that alone. Akron has so many great resources, and you will succeed if you take advantage of them. And another thing that I really learned is to be open-minded. To maybe like you have an idea right now of what you want to do, but be open-minded that may change. in high school and the beginning of college, I didn't like my chemistry courses very much. And I thought, polymer science materials, I'm not going to like that. And future co-ops really changed my mind. And now it's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So just keep an open mind. You might surprise yourself in what you're good at and what you like doing. And yeah, just really take advantage of opportunities to apply your coursework outside of the classroom with co-op undergrad research design teams, especially if you're like me and you learn best through hands-on experience. Really take advantage of those opportunities and it will be really good for you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go next. There's so many things I could share and that I wish I heard, honestly, when I was in high school. So I'll try to share a few of them with you in like the short amount of time. For me, I would say, first thing, try to leave your ego at the door. And what I mean by that is I had an ego going into college that I did not need help, that I could just do this on my own. Leave it at the door, because when you step on the campus, it's just a different ball game, and it's okay that certain things are a challenge. Engineering, I don't know too many people that will say this is an easy career or easy pathway to get there, but it is so worth it at the end of the day. I can look back and just see like, wow, I am a bridge engineer. Like, this was a dream come true for me, to be honest, for the past 5 years in school. And now I can actually say like, I'm doing this now, like almost 2 years. And it's incredible. I'm about to fly out to Georgia and like, be on an iconic bridge. But yeah, so that would be the first thing, is leaving the ego at the door. The next thing would be take advantage of opportunities. As you heard the three of us mentioning, and Jade as well, like there's just like a lot of opportunities at the University of Akron that you can take part in. Do not just go through school and focusing only on just like school. Like, look at the other opportunities outside of the classroom that the University of Akron offers to you that helps propel you into your career. Because a lot of companies like to see like the extracurricular things. They don't, like 4.0s are great, but they want to see 4.0 and you doing extracurricular activities. So take advantage of the opportunities. The other thing, Andrea touched on this, is just like seeking out the help, seeking out the people, the community, the friends that you gain on campus, that you can like go through this all together. That's what I loved about Akron, is that it really just became a family community that we all just like, we're in it together. It wasn't the competition. It was just like, you succeed, I succeed. So definitely keep that. And the biggest thing too is, like I mentioned, engineering is not necessarily easy. I will not lie to you and just say like, y'all, this was a cakewalk. No, there is tears, literal tears that came out of my eyes during this program, but I cried with other people. All right, I cried together. Like there's other people that we lean on each other's shoulders, and we cried together to get through. But we got through at the end of the day. And so with it, I'll say one thing that I look back on and could say like, hey, this is what actually helped me, is that what am I doing today that will help tomorrow me see me, or see, like thank me and say like, wow, I'm so happy yesterday I did this so that today I can be in this career. So I thank 5 years ago me for not stopping school. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So continue to just keep swimming, like Dory would say, and just continue on to the race, because yeah, it's so worth it and it's so amazing. And the University of Akron, obviously, I would say and suggest to choose the University of Akron. I don't like regret that decision by any means, and it gave me so many opportunities at the end of the day. So I could go on and on, but I'm sorry, I'm over my time.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Kenneth. You all were amazing panelists, and thank you everyone for joining tonight. Please reach out to us. Ms. Jordan, you can reach out to me as a student. If you have any more questions, I know we didn't get to some in the chat, but please send those to us because we will get back to you. I can actually send my email here in the chat. We're all so excited for you to confirm your enrollment at the University of Akron, and we will answer any questions that you have. Go to our website. There's even more resources on there. Plan a tour. We're here to inspire you. And I hope you have a great evening. If you have any other questions, just please reach out. Go Zips.
Wait, go